This section is on an overview of product development. Now, we've been talking pretty much a lot along the lines of artist development. But in order to understand where we're going with this, I thought it would be a good idea to do a brief introduction on product development so that you can write it with the product development in mind as you're writing your artist development plan. So, for example, and I've mentioned this before, plan your work and work your plan, okay? This is the music and money part of the business. So product development is about preparing music product for the marketplace and then finding ways to sell it. Product development issues become much easier to deal with when all the details addressed in artist development have been completed. I have this thought in mind that I don't want to ever look behind me and tell someone who's offering me an opportunity that says, hold on a minute, let me go get this done and I'll be right back with you. Well, most likely, monkey's dead, show's over, okay? Your opportunity has been lost. So the reason why I'm preparing you with artist development first is that when you do artist development, when an opportunity arrives in front of you for product development, you don't have to say, wait a minute, I'll be right back. I got to go finish my copyrights, or I got to do my trademark, or come up with a business, or any of that kind of thing. So that's what I'm talking about. It's being able to grasp those opportunities once you're ready for them. And not all musicians take the time to deal with these responsibilities. Many musicians prefer to rush the process and move right into the recording studio or right onto stage in their eagerness to get their music out. My opinion, that's a big mistake. Be prepared before you start product development. So before moving into product development, prepare the promotion of the project. Okay, so everything's a project in this business. The first thing you need to do is to start thinking about the promotion of the project that you're about to enter. And you might think, what? Promotion comes after I've started getting this together. No, promotion comes first. So if you're about to go into the studio, I'd like you to think about, how are you going to promote this once it's done? If you're about to go and find a gig, I'd like you to think about, how are you going to promote that gig before you accept it? Okay, so it's a mental game again. Think about the promotion of the project before you accept the project. Because if you can't find a way to promote it, don't waste your time on the project. This preparation makes it easier when it comes time to release the product. So while the product is being developed, the promotional aspects can start coming alive. Because as you're in the studio, you've already started thinking about promotion. Maybe that's going to help you as you go through your studio because you've already started to manifest this. It's all coming together for you. So envision how the music will be promoted and sold by the time the act enters the recording studio. So here's a product development: recording. Researching the right recording studio, the right producer, and the right engineer becomes a key issue in product development. Where will the record be recorded? Who will record it? Both of these questions must be considered quite seriously before making a final decision. What about producing? Yes, more product development. The choices of what studio to record in and what producer or engineer will be hired to make the record are uppermost. We should be aware that if a certain sound for a certain music genre isn't recorded properly, the chances of radio airplay could be hampered. If so, there may be no significant sales of the recording. Production choices are a part of the product development equation when deciding how to market a new artist or band. Mastering, another part of recording, but yes, another part of product development, and not to be overlooked lightly. The mastering engineer can enhance or hurt the recording. So choose a mastering engineer who understands the genre of the music. This is a must. Packaging. All right, graphics and design are an important part of issuing a product. This should work closely with the image section of the artist development, as well as the desired look for each product. This is why we're talking about image when we're talking about artist development, is because the image of the artist is going to show up on the packaging. Manufacturing. Who's going to manufacture the recordings? Who will design the artwork for the releases? These are two more essential questions. Well, your finances will most likely determine this, as they probably determined production decisions in the first place. Now, if you're going to be taking my independent record class, and even if you're not, I'm going to tell you now, I don't recommend that you form a record company that's going to have physical product. In other words, no CDs, no vinyl. You're going to be releasing a digital recording. Now, if you find that there's becoming a demand for vinyl or CDs or physical product, then you can come back to the manufacturing section and start thinking about how you're going to release this product. But the last thing you need is a garage full of CDs that's taken up valuable assets or cash that you could be used for promoting your artist. So the idea here is to think digital. And then if we're thinking manufacturing with digital, it's simple. It's just cut and paste or copy and paste or download, which is copying. And it's a lot easier. Okay, so
what happens?
Question?
Yes. What once you start playing live and you have like a merch table or something, or people want to have access to that? Is that part of the demand that you're talking about?
It is. Now, to make it financially feasible, first of all, there's a difference between burning and pressing. Okay, so if you have a CD, I don't recommend that if you're going to release it to the public for sale, that you burn it. I don't know if you've ever had a CD that's been burned, but a lot of times there are dropouts, which means you've got a problem with quality. And I'm always stressing quality. So if you're going to do a demo, maybe for a publisher or a record label, it's okay to burn it because it's just a demo. It's not anything more than that. It will be listened to maybe one time, maybe two times, maybe no times. However, if you're going to be selling this to a fan at a gig from your merch table, I recommend that you don't hurry up to do it wrong. You're gonna press some CDs, and the financial part of this is the best way to do it is to order 1,000 of them. Now, pressing a CD costs about $1.25 each. So that means it's going to cost you a minimum of $1,250 just to put some quality CDs on your merch table. My recommendation at this point in your career, unless you're out and you got a lot of fans asking for them, where you know you can get rid of 1,000 of them pretty quickly. But if it's only a few people, I recommend that you put it, you have a website, you put your album on your website, and then you either sell to them through PayPal for them to download it, or you give them a QR code with where they can find that recording on your website. Or you could even sell them the QR code. But for you to go and spend $1,250 on a CD that you're going to only sell 3 of them, don't waste your time. So you got to think through that. Does that answer your question a little bit, Sean?
Yeah, I think so. Thanks.
Okay. All right, sure. Okay, so also part of manufacturing is a segment of packaging, which means you have to think about your album cover. You know, who's going to design the artwork, for example? How's it going to look Are you going to use a thin case or an eco case, or are you going to use a bona fide jewel box with the thicker sides on it? These are things that you're going to need to think about when you're doing your manufacturing. And I can tell you another little hint. If you're planning on giving CDs to a radio station, which I assume you will be, once again, do not burn it. Give them a pressed copy. And don't think about those thin cases.
What do you mean by burn it?
Excuse me?
What do you mean by burn it?
Well, there are some programs where you can put a blank CD into your computer and copy your files onto that CD. That's called burning.
Okay.
Don't do that.
Okay.
If a magnet gets near it, it may take some of that material off. If it's dropping out, it's not going to help the artist. It doesn't show professionalism, and it's not quality. But as far as the jewel box goes, you need a regular, they're about a little less than a 1/4 inch thick, the bigger ones. You're going to need that because many radio stations have a library and they look for the artist's name on the side. If you're using those thin little plastic containers, there's no room on the side to put the name of the artist. And the CD will end up in the garbage. So the radio stations that do this, and many of them are going digital anyway, they're going to take it and put it onto their own platform. But the ones that don't, especially college radio, they're going to want to have a library and they're going to want to be able to find this. So when you call the radio station to do a request for a song, your recording, you got to make it easy for them to find it. And so you have to use the normal size CD jewel boxes and not those thin cases that some people are buying. Okay, sales. This is another part of product development. Once a record has been manufactured, is ready to be sold to the public, product development turns its attention to distribution and sales arrangements. Many developing artists forget this in their rush to record their music. I can't tell you how many artists that I know can't wait to get into the studio, record their stuff, but they don't have a way to sell it. They don't have a website. They don't have a Square account. They don't have PayPal set up. They don't have, all they have is a bunch of CDs or a bunch of recordings, but they don't have any way to sell it. So you need to start thinking about sales as you're putting together your project. So make sure a system is in place to distribute and sell the records to the fans. Don't make this mistake of trying to get some radio airplay or other media attention before you found a way for the public to buy it. The last thing you need is you just give it to a couple radio stations. What happens if it goes viral? What happens if your song, it just soars up the charts, but you don't have any way to sell it? You know, the life is not going to last long, right? It's like a bell curve. It goes up and it comes down, just like the charts. And if you're not ready with sales, don't release the product. Distribution. There are two types of distribution. We'll be talking about this later. One's brick and mortar, and the other is online music distributors. If you're going with a digital distribution, you're going to online only. You won't need brick and mortar. You won't need to get it into the retail stores if you can even find them anymore. But brick and mortar also does entail your merch table because that's physical. Okay, so when you're thinking about your merch table, that's really kind of the brick and mortar that we're talking about as well. Okay. Artists do their own distribution through merchandise sales at live performances. Yes, that's the merch table. And we'll talk more about the merch table at another class. Distribution part 2. After a record has been recorded, focus on the business arrangements involved with selling CDs, tapes, and vinyl recordings. The business of music retailing is a complex and challenging undertaking. So you've got to really know what you're doing before you get into this. And if you decide to, this is fine, but you're going to need to team up with a really good music distribution company. Yeah, welcome to the world of major label distribution companies, independent distributors, rack jobbers, mass marketing retailers, mom and pop independent record stores, and the evolving world of internet music sales. Promotion and publicity, another part of product development. Without promotion and publicity, the whole is for naught. The goal is to leave no rock unturned. In other words, you don't know how someone's going to find your music. So put it everywhere. It's not just going to be on iTunes. That's one good spot, don't get me wrong, but so is SoundCloud, so is TuneCore, so is Reverb Nation. So you don't know how someone's going to find your music, so leave no rock unturned. Put it everywhere. Getting fans information should be focused on traditional ways, word of mouth, flyers, posters, as well as online methods such as social networks, e-blast, texting, etc. All this should be planned ahead of time. Advertising, certainly another part of product development. It's bringing a product or service to the attention of potential and current customers. Advertising is typically done with signs, brochures, commercials, direct mails, email messages, which is really more promotion, but same idea. Okay. There's a difference between advertising and promotion. And when we get to that, when we start talking about it with the artist business plan, we'll get into the details of why it's that way. Live performances is the most direct way to influence potential fans to becoming full-fledged quality fans. Yes, the radio is important too, but radio is fragmented, and even internet radio is fragmented. So live performances is a really great way to influence potential fans to pick up your product, maybe at the merch table or with your QR codes, some way in order to get them on your team. It's also the best place to accumulate their contact information. And we'll talk more about that too, with getting their email addresses and or text numbers. Merchandising, one of the income sources to maximize profits is merchandising. This is done through CDs, t-shirts, etc. The maintenance of inventories and the involvement of new products is essential to survival. I've had a lot of interesting stories on this one too, because I've had artists that show up to a gig and they realize they don't have any shirts because they forgot to reorder them. Oops. Well, can't sell you a shirt today. Come back next time. Well, that's a sale that's lost, potentially. Okay, so you got to maintain your inventory, which means you got to keep putting money back into that. And certainly the World Wide Web is the window to the world. It's our front door anymore. When someone's looking for information about the artist, first thing they do is try and find their website. The use of the web is important for research, sales, communication, and news. Any questions on the overview of product development?